All right. Now, I want to switch gears here. I want to get into a story that I have not really covered much to date, and that is the Charlie Kirk assassination, the fallout from that, what's going on with Candace Owens. We'll probably have to cover this in a lot more detail. This is just like the first kind of snapshot into what I've been thinking. I've been kind of laying low because I've been trying to process a lot of this. So I want to open this up. Before I do, please smash that like button, subscribe, turn on the notifications. Even if you've already turned them on, go check them again because YouTube loves to turn them off. And if you like the content, please share Courageous Media with everybody that you know. All right, I want to dive into this. I want to play this clip from Candace, and then we're going to get into what I think are three of the major sticking points that are showing this whole thing to be a much bigger problem than the feds, the FBI, Kash Patel, and others want it to be. So let's dive right in. Check this out.
Never get over the fact, by the way, that the decision was made to execute Charlie Kirk publicly. They wanted us to see it. That is something that truly disturbs me on every level to consider, that they wanted us to see it, and then they wanted to spend money on a psychological campaign to tell us that we were wrong for seeing it and thinking about it and not accepting the narrative. Like, that really gets to the heart of the disturbing corruption and psychopathic nature of our governments worldwide. I just want to say that, okay?
So we've got Candace Owens has not bought this thing basically from the get-go. Probably about 5 days in, she was like, I'm not buying the narrative. I don't believe this nonsense. I don't think this was a lone shooter. I don't think it was Tyler Robinson. I think Tyler Robinson's a kid. I think Tyler Robinson might be involved. So she's gone there. Now, there's been times when she has gone full-blown, tinfoil hat. It was all about Israel. Other times, she's gone some different directions. I think a lot of it has been she's been processing this out loud. I know she went away to Wyoming for a week or two and just tried to get her thoughts straight. But again, I think a lot of this has been her processing out loud. Now, with that said, there are major, major holes that have propped up in the official narrative to date. Now, we know the narrative. We don't know what the FBI, the DOJ are actually going to prosecute in Utah. We have some ideas based on what they've said, and what they've said now does not match up with actual evidence that has been presented. So this is going to be very interesting to see. I am not buying, just so everybody, I'm not buying the Tyler Robinson was the lone shooter nonsense. This just sounds way too much like it was, Lee Harvey Oswald. He acted alone. He somehow got 3 shots off in 3 seconds from a bolt action rifle, and you had magic bullets making left hand, 90-degree turns. It's all nonsense. But now we've got way too much video. We've got way too much access to the internet. We've got way too much information to buy that crap anymore. And I don't think that's the case. Now, whether the feds come out and actually change the direction of this prosecution, maybe they've been staying silent because that's what they want to do, I don't know. I'm willing to give them one more benefit of the doubt. And part of that is because now I advocated for Kash Patel as director of the FBI. And so far he has been, in some cases, really good, and in some cases, a disappointment. We don't have any information on the Trump assassination. We don't have any real movement on J6. We don't have anything on this situation. But I've really trusted Dan Bongino as the assistant director, the deputy director, and I want to see where this plays out. I'm hoping that they get things right. So I want to dive into basically a bombshell that Candace released on her Twitter feed. I think it was on Sunday, talking about the fact that she has been targeted for assassination. And this is not some wild theory. She actually has a vetted, evidently inside source in the French government, and how that dovetails with what's going on with the Charlie Kirk assassination. I think between what she's uncovered with Egyptian military flights in and out of the United States, shadowing Charlie and Erica Kirk, and who were there on the ground on the day that he was assassinated. You couple that with the nonsense with the bullet, and I think you've got 3 serious problems with this entire narrative. Now, let me dive right into this. Here is what she released, a long Twitter feed. So we'll do our best to kind of help you read this. Urgent. 2 days ago, I was contacted by a high-ranking employee of the French government. After determining this person's position and proximity to the French couple, I have deemed the information they gave me to be credible enough to share publicly in the event that something happens. All right. So now she's been pretty circumspect on not just sharing willy-nilly and only, she shares a lot of opinions, but she has backed stuff up with evidence. Now, realize that people want proof. People in this day and age, they want the CSI show. They want the DNA proof that proves absolutely 100%, that, either somebody did it or somebody didn't do it. Most of the time, you never get that in a court case. In a real world, you get evidence, and you have to stack the evidence up. In short, this person claims that the Macrons have executed upon and paid for my assassination. You read that correctly. Now, I have no doubt about this. The Macrons, she has been a thorn in their side now going on 8 months. It has been ugly. She has outed essentially Brigitte Macron as Jean-Michel Trogneau. She's got evidence. She's got evidence backed up by people in France. I think 100%, well, maybe 99%. I mean, because I believe 99% that Brigitte Macron is Jean-Michel Trogneau. She was born a man, a boy, a male. And this whole thing, and they have perpetrated an ultimate scam on the French people and upon the world, frankly. You read that correctly. More specifically, the green light was given to a small team in the National Gendarmerie Intervention Group. I was told that there was one Israeli on that assassination squad. Plans were formalized. This person provided concrete proof that they are well placed within the French government apparatus. Further to the point, this person claims that Charlie Kirk's assassin trained with the French Legion 13th Brigade with multi-state involvement. Now, if that is true, that begins to debunk this. First of all, it debunks the idea that there was a lone shooter who acted alone. It also begins to debunk the idea that it was Tyler Robinson, because unless they have evidence that Tyler Robinson flew out of the country and trained with French Foreign Legion somewhere, I don't know. That tells me that there's probably other people involved on the ground. Journalist Xavier Broussard's life is also at risk. He's the one who wrote the book, Becoming Brigitte, that started the whole Brigitte Macron firestorm. This is deadly serious. The heads of state of France apparently wants us both dead and has authorized professional units to carry this out. I asked everybody in person to retweet and share this. I do not know who in the American government can be trusted since this source claims our leaders are aware. Okay, so we're going to stop there. This is huge. Okay, the fact that now this dovetails with what Charlie Kirk's second in command at TPUSA, whose name's just blanking at the moment, who basically told Candace after the assassination of Charlie Kirk that she needed to keep, her and Tucker need to keep their heads down because they, the ubiquitous they, were coming after them too. And her life and Tucker's life were in danger. Now, why he would say that, and Candace and Tucker would never get a call from the feds. Where did that come from? Where did that information come from? That just starts the series of conspiracy theories. Now, I want to get into this because, like I said, there are a couple of facts which I think belie the entire narrative that we have been fed so far. 3 facts that we're going to cover today. 1, the whole Egyptian plane situation. 2, the lies about drones in the air. And 3, the bullet. We're going to call it the new magic bullet theory. The Kennedy, just like the Kennedy magic bullet theory, we've got a 30-06 bullet that supposedly gets stopped by Charlie Kirk's neck bone because he eats a lot of spinach. And it makes a couple 90-degree turns in there somewhere. And you get very little chest, cavitation. It's just nonsense, in my opinion. All right. So let's dive right in. Here we go with Candace Owens on, this is just a snippet because she's covered this now for multiple episodes. But essentially what we've got is we've got Egyptian military aircraft that have been in the United States over and over and over and over again and have a statistically impossible overlap rate with Charlie and Erica Kirk. These 2 planes were on the ground the day before, the day of Charlie Kirk assassination in Utah, in the airport next to Utah Valley State. So we've got serious overlap that is statistically impossible to make random, to account for by simply randomized flight theory. Check this out. And these planes also transited through Delaware, which now Delaware has a French connection. Here we go.
facts. So let's recap these facts. On September 10th, an Egyptian government aircraft with a history of flying to France and the United States lands at a small Delaware airport under a French company maintenance pretext that doesn't actually match the hangar timeline because the French visit predates the French company's deal. Within an hour, federal SUVs move from that airport to 920 North King Street. 920 North King Street has been a federal residence office since at least 1997, and today it houses the DEA, the FBI, and the United States Secret Service, all at the same address. The hangar the plane would have used is controlled through a DRBA lease that itself is nested in federal waterways. The FBI also publicly talks about key partners in Wilmington on the same year that the hangar reactivates. I'm going to skip this next portion because he tells me how I can verify this. And like I said, I did that. Once more, go through this logic and ask yourself how this makes any sense. On November 13th, 2022, SUBTT flies from Cairo to Paris to Wichita, Kansas, to Wilmington, Delaware, back to Cairo. That is already a 4-leg, 2-continent hop that ends in Wilmington before going home. 4 days later, on November 17th, 2022, it does Egypt to Wilmington, again, departing at 8:54 a.m., and this time it stays in Wilmington until November 20th.
So I'm going to cut this short. We don't need to listen to this for minutes, but to get to the bottom line on this, what we know so far, there are 2 Egyptian military aircraft, essentially Learjets, private, commercial or corporate aircraft that are, flagged under the Egyptian military. They have flown to the United States no less than 70 something times in the last few years. And I say no less than that because they have 79 overlaps with Charlie and Erica Kirk. That is absolutely statistically impossible from a randomized sample. You cannot go to that many random places between those 2 people and have overlap unless it was planned. They have several flights to Wichita, Kansas. Now, those can be explained. And they've tried to debunk this. People have tried to debunk this saying, hey, they were there for maintenance. In Wichita, yes. 8 of those flights could be maintenance related. Nothing else is maintenance related. Second, they now have the French government has leased a hangar in Wilmington to try to cover up the Wilmington angle because they have flown into Wilmington. They have been whoever was on the plane was taken by government SUV to a federal government office location in Wilmington. At the same time, you've got when they went to Utah, whoever the contractors were, whoever was on the airplanes, rented was the travel. There was a travel organization that rented them vehicles. They stayed in Utah. They did not leave with the airplanes. And so now you've got this aspect, this angle of the Charlie Kirk assassination that cannot be explained by the lone shooter theory. It absolutely speaks to the fact that there were international factors at play, that they were after Charlie and Erica Kirk, and that they were there on the day that he was assassinated. All right, that's point number 1. So let's call it fact number 1. We don't know exactly where it leads, but we know it's a fact that does not fit the narrative. Now, check this out, because here's where we get into the drone situation. We know that TPUSA, that spokespeople for TPUSA are lying to us. And the person that told us she was in danger was Andrew Colvett, who was like second in command of TPUSA under Kirk, and now kind of again, now that Erica Kirk's been named CEO. But check this out. We have conflicting reports of whether or not they were flying drones. Here we go.
Is just getting longer every day. Yesterday, we talked about Brian Harpole, the security guy who was not convincing at all. And he basically said, we didn't have drones because looking at the rooftops, because I wasn't allowed to have drones, right? We just were not allowed to have drones that day. A lot of you emailed us and said that was a lie, actually. Again, going back to the early interviews that a lot of TPUSA people gave, Frank Turek, who was with Charlie on the day that he died, with Charlie in the hospital, and carried Charlie into the waiting SUV, he told Megyn Kelly something different about drones on that day. Take a listen.
And in fact, when we were driving into that event, this is the first event I've gone to a college campus with Charlie. He said, Frank, if you can come help me the first couple of days, could you stay an extra day and come with me to the first event? I said, of course. So we're driving in, Megan, and his team has drones up looking at the crowd from above, and they text him some video. And there's thousands of people there an hour before the start. And I said, Charlie, I don't like this place. There's too many buildings. And but he shrugged it off. He knew.
So now we know that, remember, that the guy who was in charge of security for Charlie Kirk with TPUSA lied about the drones. Either he lied or Frank Turek lied. Frankly, I trust Frank Turek a lot more than the other guy. So you've got two absolutely conflicting stories. No, I wasn't allowed to fly drones. You've got Frank Turek basically saying they were flying drones because I saw the footage. So you've got that major lie. Why are they lying about that? Why are they covering that up? That's not to protect a court case. That has that. No. No, because there's plenty of information that comes out on court cases before they happen. This is not some super secret. Everything's got to be protected so we can protect the case. No. Because guess what? Everybody's heard of the Charlie Kirk assassination. You're going to have a hard time finding any juror that doesn't know something about it or think they know something about it. You're not even going to be able to change venue on this because this is worldwide. Billions of people have tuned into this. So you've got that lie. Now, finally, the final fact problem that I want to get to, and the one, it's the one that kind of ties it all up for me that says this narrative is crap. And that is the whole bullet situation. I want us to listen to Candace, and then I'm going to get into what I think. I think there's a couple options here, but I don't think it's what they're telling us. Check this out.
The part that he is telling the truth about is that Charlie's neck indeed did stop the bullet without question. Okay. And this is going to dispel a lot of theories that are out there. And I'm telling you this 100%. Charlie Kirk was shot from the front and the bullet did not exit. And at least a fragment of the bullet was recovered from his neck. And I'm going to tell you exactly where it was recovered from. I have fact-checked this information from multiple sources now. I've actually been sitting on this for a little bit over a week. Right around here. So think about almost in line with your shoulder blade right in the center. Now, why is that helpful? Because it gives us a bullet trajectory, okay? We went in here where you saw that, and it was stopped, and a fragment was pulled from, think right, if you're just touching your spine in line with your shoulder blade. That leads us, obviously, to the part that he's maybe not being forthcoming about. They did not recover a bullet from a 30-06. They didn't recover a bullet from a 30-06. Just didn't happen, okay? If they had found a 30-06 bullet, Charlie's death certificate certainly would have reflected that. In suicide situations, as just one example, medical examiners feel free to chime in. I've spoken to quite a few, but when the gun and the bullet are known, they are reflected onto the death certificate, okay?
Okay, so it's interesting about the death certificate part, and I found that interesting. But what I found even more compelling was the fact that supposedly Charlie Kirk was shot with a 30-06. Now, if you've ever seen the damage a 30-06 does, you'll realize that if you watch the video, not even the graphic video, just the one video where it shows where Charlie Kirk actually got shot, not with all the blood and everything else, but where he basically gets shot, lurches to the left, and falls over. You will say to yourself, there's no way that's a 30-06 unless it grazes his neck and it's a complete through and through. The only way to explain the video with a 30-06 bullet is that it basically just grazes him enough, like it goes right through, just simple, flesh. It's a complete through and through. That bullet would have kept going. That possibly could have explained the body movement, the body motion. Otherwise, look at what a 30-06 bullet actually does. And I've got two videos because I've looked at video after video after video of what a 30-06 does and what it looks like. I've shot them before. So I knew what I was getting into, but check this out.
Let's give it a shot.
All right. So what they've got here is they've got a cow thigh bone. This is three times as thick as the vertebrae in Charlie Kirk's neck, which supposedly stopped a 30-06 bullet. Check this out.
Yeah, that's a little different. Okay. There you go.
Maybe I did miss.
All right, so
it completely blows the thigh bone apart. There's no way that Charlie Kirk's neck stopped a 30-06 bullet.
let's see the damage. It's literally in pieces. So here you go. Where Brian hit that directly in the center. Literally exploded that cow femur in half. Blew straight through. Cow femur. 30-06 round. Now think about a human.
Now, so realize that this is how ridiculous it gets. So they did another test with, cow femur surrounded by flesh. Check this.
Well, well, they can't. Everything exploded. All right, let's check it out.
Now, for any of you who have seen the video of Charlie Kirk getting shot, that is not what happens. That is the effect of a 30-06 bullet. Now, to get to the point where, Charlie ate a lot of spinach, therefore, his neck was able to stop the bullet. Charlie was a walking miracle. Check this out with 30-06 bullets versus plate steel.
God, we got an actual competition shooter here to hit this 2-inch by 2-inch plate from 100 yards, which I probably wouldn't have been able to. Clean through 1/4-inch steel.
1/4-inch steel. I guarantee you his bones are not stronger than 1/4-inch steel. Or, mind you,
clean through 3/8-inch steel.
3/8-inch steel.
And 1/2-inch steel almost, or actually it potentially did actually blow out the side of that. So, guys, final thoughts. Literally nothing we brought out here today could stop a 30-06 round.
Exactly. Charlie Kirk could not stop a 30-06 round. So either it was a great glancing shot through and through that could possibly explain the body movement of Charlie Kirk, or it's as Candace said, it is a much smaller, lower velocity round shot from close range, and in my opinion, most likely a fragmenting bullet. Because professionally, you can buy what they used to call frag bullets, bullets that break up on impact. They don't mushroom like a hollow point, which creates a whole much more slamming force. No, these are designed to frag on impact, basically going off in shards, guaranteeing death essentially. But they don't have near the stopping power. But again, if it was from a high-powered rifle, it would have blown his neck probably clean off. From a lower velocity bullet fired from up front, possibly. And again, I want to share one more video talking about the fact that the 30-06 being stopped by the neck cannot possibly be true. I do not believe it. You had Harple on the Sean Ryan show saying, well, the bullet came from an up to down trajectory. It hit the first vertebrae and it turned and it went down and then it turned again and it got all the way to C6. So somehow this bullet does a complete 90-degree turn inside Charlie Kirk's body. I don't think so. Check this out.
Have these roasts which had the bone in. This is 1.25 inch bone. A leg bone of a pig is a lot more dense than the cervical neck bones of a human. This bone has to hold a lot of weight. It's got a big fat 1/4 inch-ish wall around it, before you get to the marrow. These are very hard bones, and they're solid, one piece. So you would think if anything was going to deflect this, here's what would happen. So now this was shot with a 180 grain hollow point. The bone was hit. It was shattered. You see this huge hole that came out the backside here. And that's because the bullet came in, it probably mushroomed a bit, but the bullet went straight through, but it was carrying so much of the bone material with it that too punched through. This is a 1/2 inch oriented strand board, and it's just astonishing to watch this happen. So here we're showing that once it was shot through the bone in this case, we could put a 1/4 inch dowel through and show that there was no deflection, like it didn't go up to here. it didn't bend like this.
This is why I thought this video was interesting, because they actually put in the dowel rods into the holes that were created. And so they could show that the bullet did not deflect. This idea that this 30-6 bullet made a 90-degree turn, just to me, is farcical. Now, could I be wrong? Absolutely. Am I a PhD in physics? No. But I've seen bullets. I've seen what they can do. I've seen what handgun bullets can do. I've seen what rifle bullets can do. And I do not buy for an instant that a high power 30-6 bullet somehow entered Charlie's body and did not cause major chest cavitation, somehow made a 90-degree turn without doing that. And again, if a high-powered bullet, even if it could strike Charlie, make a 90-degree turn, go down 6 vertebrae, it would have blown him off the back of that chair into the wall behind him. The power of that. You've seen it. You've seen the power of these bullets. If he was somehow able to stop it, to absorb all that energy, he would have moved 3 to 4 feet back, his entire body. I think this is absolute nonsense. I do not know what the FBI is doing. I want to trust them. I do. If it was a Democrat in office, I'd be screaming to the high heavens that this is complete crap. And so I want to trust Kash Patel and Dan Bongino. I don't know what's going on. They have been silent for a long time now. We've also lost complete contact publicly with the roommate. Where is the roommate? Do they even have the roommate? What is going? This whole thing stinks to high heaven. And Candace has it right. Candace is asking a lot of questions, and she is finding evidence that this is a much bigger deal than a lone shooter who hated Charlie because he was anti-trans. That story is not playing anymore. Not with the Egyptian military plane angle, not with the French involved in Wilmington angle, not with the bullet angle, not with the TPUSA lying about the drones angle, and now with alleged inside French government access, an official with high-placed access inside the French government, basically saying that the Macrons signed off on the assassination of both Charlie and Candace. That lends a whole different element to this thing, because it ties in the Satis, French angle in Wilmington, where they leased a hangar to try to make Wilmington look like a maintenance stop when it never was. It was always about interaction with government officials at the Fed office, the joint Fed office in Wilmington. Let me know what you think in the comments. Really appreciate everybody rolling up. Let me know what you think. Really appreciate everybody rolling up. Please smash the like button, comment, let us know how we're doing. If you like the content, please share it. And whatever you do, if you'd like to support the channel, please join us as a member of the Courageous Army. Really appreciate you rolling up. God is good. He is sovereign. He is in control. This will all be good in the end.